A lathe is a very versatile tool because it has the ability to operate in a large range of speeds. By knowing how to utilize this ability, you can effectively increase your productivity and quality of work pieces. So to my right, we have three different levers that can change the speed on the engine lathe. The main one you want to think about is the one with the dial, and the dial can change different numbers. These are the speeds you can work within. Now you'll notice that there's two different color bands on this dial itself. The top numbers have an orange band and the bottom numbers have a blue band. These are indicated by a symbol, plus and minus, and these symbols correspond to the lever to its right, plus and minus. So any number that's in the orange color will need to be engaged with the plus. Any number in the blue will need to be in the minus. Same applies for this far right lever, H and L. You'll see markings just above L and H. If your number is under L, you would select L. If your number is under H, you would select H. But when you actually are going to select your speed, you have to make sure that there's a red diamond in the middle which lines up with a little triangle up above. Otherwise, this gear won't be engaged. So you have to make sure that the number you're selecting is either to the left or right of a red diamond. And usually the easiest way to tell is if you hear a click. If you hear no click, it's not engaged. Same applies for these two levers. If you hear a click, then generally you're engaged. Now another issue you might run into is that when you're trying to change from one setting to another, it might get stuck. It might not want to move. And this is because gears are misaligned and they're not meshing. So the best way to work around this is to rotate the chuck. So eventually they can mate. But you have to remember that all these gears are sequential. And what I mean by this is that if you want to change this lever and it's not changing, you have to ensure that both this lever and this lever are engaged before you can rotate the gears to engage this lever. So all the levers to the right of whichever lever you're trying to engage need to be engaged as well. For example, this one doesn't want to change to the next setting. So we have to engage both this and this lever before we can rotate the gears to engage this dial. So that's really the general gist of how to change the speeds. Now let's go into an example. If I wanted to look at these four speeds I can work with it and pick one, 700. All I have to do is look at the color it's in, orange, which means I have to change to a plus, and look at the letter it's under, L, which I'm already at. So now I have the speed 700 selected. And that's really all there is to it. So now let's go and check and see if it actually works. So we're going to use the jog function on the lathe to make sure that the speed that we set is appropriate and that everything's in order. The easiest way to do this is activate your machine. And then there's a little green button down here that you can use to jog the machine. As long as you hold the button, the machine will be active. As soon as you let it go, it will be deactivated. For example, so now we know our speed is appropriate and everything's in order. So you want to make sure that the speed you're using on the machine is appropriate to the materials or tools that you're using. For example, softer materials like aluminum will require you to run the machine at a higher speed versus harder materials like steel. These will require you to run the machine quite a lot slower. The general concept is the harder it is, the slower, the softer it is, the faster. So if you're not sure about the speed that you're using, always talk to the shop supervisor to see if everything's okay. This is because if the speed's not correct, you risk damaging the tool, your workpiece, yourself, or others around you. So it's very, very important to make sure that the speed is correct. So don't hesitate and always ask. So now you know about controlling the gears and adjusting the speeds on the engine lathe. They should give you some insight into what speeds you'll need to use with various materials.